Welcome to the Russ Joy Show. I'm Russ Joy. Figured that out because you're smart. It's also the name of the show. Fantastic Friday. We had a wacky Wednesday, a marvelous Monday. Today is a fantastic Friday. You might be wondering, Russ, why? What makes today such a great day? Because, my friends, we are 2 days away. 2 days away from the Philadelphia Eagles playing host to the Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship game. We will know by Sunday night whether we're going to have to wake up with the Monday morning scaries in a post-Eagles world, or if we're going to be riding the mental, emotional high of an NFC Championship game win and get to start thinking about 2 weeks down the road, a rematch, the chance to avenge a Super Bowl loss against the Chiefs, because as I've said, the Bills have no chance. The Eagles and the Chiefs, can they get back to the Super Bowl? What was once a Kelsey Bowl would have no Kelsey on the Eagles side. But can we get there? And I did the political hand gesture before, and let me lock it in right now. Yes, we can. That is hope you can believe in. We're going to get to all of it today, including some updates on Jalen Hurts. How's he looking? How's he feeling at practice? Jordan Mailata had maybe the greatest all-time quote to the media this week. We're going to get to that as well. And we're going to check in on a couple of national media pundits who have some interesting things to say about whether or not the Eagles can ultimately get past the Commanders and can win the Super Bowl. We're going to get to all of that. But before we do, we're going to go where we start virtually every show at this point, and that's out to the comments. And then we are going to really get after it today. I'm very excited. I have stupid levels of excitement and anticipation for Sunday's game. I really do. I'm unbelievably hyped. And I think it's just because I think the Eagles are going to win. I believe in my heart of hearts they're going to win. But we're going to go over to the comments really quick. Chris Freed says, should the mayor be immediately recalled for not doing the mating call of Philly sports fans correctly? The Eagles chant. I assume everybody has seen this at this point. But, I brought up how I don't like during the regular season or, during non-Eagles games when there's not a playoff game coming up. I don't like hear the, I don't need that. Nope. But she tried to do Eagles. She did, I think it was ELGSES, EGLSES Eagles, I think is what she did. Now, to her credit, she has poked fun at herself since, saying that she doesn't expect perfection. She's never promised it, and noting the fact that she misspelled Eagles. But yeah, that was kind of rough. I'm going to go over here. Listen, he and I have our differences on how this has happened, but Ford notes the Sixers are 2-8 in their last 10 games, and in the 11th spot, season is over. He is likely correct unless somehow there is a massive reversal of fortune here and Joel Embiid gets back healthy. I am firmly in the, you're kind of screwed. Can I actively root for two teams in the city at the same time in the same winter season? Can I root for both teams to get a high pick in the draft? I think I might have to. Man, I don't want to think about that. But it's bad. Ford also says, sadly, the Sixers season was over truly before it began. In fairness, it was over the second Joel Embiid decided to go over and play in the Olympics, and very clearly was over as soon as the Sixers started this season shrouded in secrecy. Now, I don't want to get into the Sixers much today, if at all. We're keeping a little bit of positivity. If you're a pro wrestling fan, and yesterday you tuned into It's Just Wrestling, that dropped late last night. If you haven't had a chance to go listen to it yet, it's over on YouTube. I don't think I put it in the podcast feed. I have to do that this morning. I will do that. I had a very positive reaction to SmackDown, Raw, and even Dynamite this week. So if you're a pro wrestling fan, you go check out It's Just Wrestling. So I'm keeping that positivity going today on Friday's show. So that's why I got to Nico, who says, "Go Birds!" JH, morning all, go Birds! Peter down in Outer Banks, I wonder if Peter has thawed out yet, says, go Eagles, go Eagles. Still my favorite clip. That guy is not my spirit animal. The guy who got in the car from WNEP got asked. Let me see if I usually have that clip on hand, but up where I grew up in the Cole region, WNEP was our ABC station. We didn't have 6 ABC. I think for a while we might have had 2 ABC stations. There was like a second channel. I forget what the number was. It doesn't really matter for our purposes today. But years ago, there was a guy who was under arrest, and he's like getting carted off to go to jail, I guess, or whatever. He's getting arrested by the police. And they come up to this guy. I have it. I always have to have it at the ready. And I don't remember what he was getting arrested for, so we're not going to make light of whatever the charges against this man were. But it's my favorite thing. I like this better than any Go Birds I know. This guy's getting hauled off by the police, and WNEP is there. And they say, "Hey, is there anything you want to say?" And he says,
"Go Eagles. Go Eagles. Go Eagles. Go Eagles."
And I'm just going to let that run in the background for a while.
Go Eagles. Go Eagles.
So there you go. I love that guy. I mean, I don't love that guy. I just love the Go Eagles. Anyway, we're going to keep going. Ford coming up with the strategy for Sunday's game. I'm looking for a deep ball or 2 or 3 to AJ or Devontae. Need to get that passing game going other than just slants. If we do that, we win. They run a lot of 4 verticals, which is actually kind of a problem, but I'm actually fine with the quick slants to AJ. They work incredibly well. But I don't disagree that they need to get the deep ball established. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't imagine it'll happen early in the game. This isn't like the Super Bowl run with Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens, where it felt like every game started off with a play action pass, deep vertical go route to 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 start every game. I don't foresee that happening early. Could it? Maybe. I would find it very unlikely. And actually, I would find it to be kind of antithetical to what Sirianni and Kellen Moore have been calling this year, but we'll see. Jamie says, "Good morning. I had a colleague from outside of Louisville bring her gaff up to me." Oh, the mayor's gaff. Eye roll, Sherelle. Yeah, not great. JH, talking about the Eagles' offense, clearly says, "The deeper the balls, the more amazing the results." Can be, as long as you have somebody who can handle that ball or those balls going their way. One would have to agree. We'll hope that Devontae and AJ are able to haul those in from the sky. Maybe get a couple of big plays out of it. Some big touchdowns. I said this on Wednesday. I mean, we kind of know how they set this thing up, truly. Like, we know how they set up the passing game through the running game. I don't want to be in a scenario where the Eagles are trailing late and you have to start throwing bombs, but do I think that Jalen Hurts has the ability? And do I obviously think that Devontae and A.J. Brown can either create separation or go up and win a 50-50 ball? I do. So it's like a thing that you're not used to seeing a ton of. And ultimately, it would be better for the Eagles if they could just establish the run game and win the way that they've been winning to this point. But it is nice to know that you do, in theory, have the emergency lever that you can pull. Now, would I like to have seen it in a few other games to believe that they have everything in rhythm? Yes. Would I like to see that Jalen Hurts doesn't look gimpy? Yes. We're going to get to that in a little bit. I think I'm going to be able to show just a little bit of practice footage because the rights aren't owned by anybody. So that should be okay. But we'll get there a little bit later. JH, what I mentioned earlier, potential post-Eagles world says, I can't do this again. Don't worry. You're not going to have to. Not yet. Eagles season ends after the Super Bowl, win or lose. I'm thinking that a win is possible. Andrew Foss says, "Morning all. Joe Papel checking in. I'm assuming down from Florida. Jamie Rollo or Royo. Jamie, you have to let me know. Is it an L sound? Is it a Y sound? I need to know. Is it Rollo? Are you Italiano? Is it Royo or Royjo or Roysho? You gotta let me know. Anyway, Jamie, because there are 2 Jamies who check in quite often in the comments. Anyway, Jamie says, "For the first time, I'm scared. Nothing scarier than a team who is too dumb to realize they should lose to the Commanders. That combined with banged up Hurts, I'm scared." Jamie, don't be scared. It's going to be okay. We're going to get there. I'll hopefully give you a little bit of info that's going to kind of put your mind at ease. Greg Bondarenko's here as well, says, "Good morning, all." Josh Gaynor says, "The Union are finally over the FIFA ban. Not like they would have signed anyone even if they weren't on a ban list. Josh, I have to pay some serious respect to you for showing up this morning with a union point as the Eagles are getting ready to go into the NFC Championship game in the midst of a disappointing Sixers season, a confusing Flyers season. We are not breaking down the 6-1 loss against the Rangers in Madison Square Garden. I think I was the only person on the Snow the Goalie crew to pick the Flyers last night. I didn't expect them to get boat raced. I knew that the Rangers were like playing significantly better, but they got boat raced. That wasn't good. That wasn't good at all. But Josh came here with a union point, and you know what? Josh, you are right. Them being off the FIFA ban doesn't change anything because Jay Sugarman is a poverty franchise owner, and it's an absolute disgrace. And if we are lucky, if you are a Philadelphia soccer fan, we can only hope and pray that either Josh Harris or Comcast or a combination of the two just throws down a lump sum of money in front of Jay Sugarman, extracts that team from Chester, drops them into this sports complex redevelopment. And if they stay in Chester, which I'm not opposed to, because it would be nice to actually follow through on the promise that you're going to like build up the Chester waterfront that was made when they built the stadium in the first place. If a Harris or Comcast or a joint venture or whatever ends up buying the team, I hope that they do redevelop it. I hope it creates a lot of jobs for the people in Chester. They deserve to have that. But if that's not going to happen, and if that was just snake oil, well, then extract them, put them in the sports complex. Give us our 5-for-5 opportunity in South Philly. All right, anyway, Jim Cochran says more slants and quick passes would be amazing. I'm here for Jalen holding the ball less than 5 seconds per snap. One of the things that I think people get confused about, I think that one thing people do get confused about, just in general, right, is if you look at the routes that are called, like I know, I think it was Ford earlier, said like no more quick slants, right? They run too many long routes. But the other issue that they have at hand in this Eagles offense is that because the offensive line is so good, Jalen Hurts is able to hang on to the ball for longer, waiting for a play to develop, and that's when he ended up taking a lot of those sacks that we all get pissed off about. But if he had a worse offensive line in front of him, he would probably have to get out of the pocket faster, and then he might end up running more and put himself in jeopardy. So it's a hard thing to kind of like toe the line on. I will say that I think that having some quick slant concepts in this offense as like an immediate safety valve would be very helpful to Jalen Hurts. And it would kind of throw off the timing of the defense, and it would change some of the looks that they're able to give to the opposition. When you get to a place where as long as you have good coverage downfield and Hurts has to hang on to the ball and you're just allowing for your defensive line to potentially either flush him out, make a bad decision, or get into the backfield, like, I don't know, that's a problem. That's why a lot of times you end up seeing a quick slant run by A.J. Brown. He picks up the first down almost every time because they're not expecting it. They're constantly expecting Hurts to look to go deep or wait too long and give their defensive line an opportunity to get a sack. Let's see. We're going to go back over here. JH says, I think Devontae and AJ are going to be able to reach out and touch the balls this week. I think so too, and I think they're going to corral those balls. JH, I do. I think it's going to be a big game for them. Raymond Suffer says, pass early to prevent 9 Commanders in the box. We'll see. We will see. Here we go. Jamie with a good answer. Roll low. I like this. Like a candy, but Italian. Jamie, how you doing? Roll low. Hey. All right, good. Now we have that figured out. Ford is now asking, aren't Rolos Italian? Are Rolos Italian? I don't think they are. Are they? Can somebody fact check that? Can I get the producer? Producer, can you fact check it? No. There's no producer. I don't have time. I might be able to look it up while vamping here at some point. Andrew Fawcett says, Flyers were not must-see TV last night. And Linda Joseph, poor Linda Joseph here, says, I watched every minute of the 6-1 loss and kept laughing that Danny wants the players to make the decision. Oh, boy. Now, I do have a point of clarification because I had people asking in the comments on the clip that is on the channel and about a short on the channel about Kolosov because I was very angry and I was yelling about Kolosov the other day. I did get some clarification on a comment that was made at the press conference. And in the interest of fairness and the fact that I always say, if I'm a jackass, I'm happy to be made to know that I'm a jackass. You just have to provide sufficient evidence of my jackassery. I was provided clarification after Wednesday's show that when Briere said at the end of the answer about Kolosov, it's his decision, I took it, I think the way that a lot of people took it, which was, oh, is he deciding that he doesn't have to go down to the AHL? Like, is he going to decide that he just gets to stay at the NHL level, which has been maddening? And in fairness, just based on the amount of information that is out there publicly, one would assume that that is what was meant. I then had it passed along to me that no, Briere was in fact referring to Kolosov not needing to report to the AHL because in theory, any player who gets assigned to the AHL team doesn't have to report. This has happened before. It happened at the end of last season. What the hell is the name of the guy that they got back from Colorado in the Walker trade that they didn't want to play, that has past beef with Torts? I don't remember the guy's name. I should know. I don't remember his name, but he refused to report. That led to the Flyers and this player going to, I don't know if it's arbitration or what they're going through with the Players Association to like try to avoid the deal. There we go, Johansson. Thank you. Thank you, guys. See, this is Flyer. Spin Doctor, Fawcett, JH, they're all Eric Johansson. That's right. Okay. So in theory, a player doesn't have to go down to the AHL if they don't want to. They can essentially refuse to go there. But then it's a question of like, all right, well, what are you going to do instead? And so really his only options at that point would be kind of what I joked about. Like he could, in theory, try to go back to Belarus or go back to the KHL or something and like, I don't know, like beg for a job. Like I don't know how that would work. And he's technically under contract to the Flyers. And so if he went and signed a contract somehow with the KHL, they don't have a working agreement between the leagues like they used to. So I guess in theory he could. It would just be a really bad look, and it ultimately would probably cost him any opportunity to ever play in the NHL again. So like, it doesn't make sense. So that was a point of clarification. And so I'm happy to like pop that out there. Now I did have people who were like, does this now, there was a guy who commented on the video, I think yesterday, and was like, is this going to end the partnership between Snow the goalie and the Flyers? The answer is no, because this is my show. And also because, I always say this, I try to be fair. And again, if there's a team who clarifies something to me, and if I interpret something a certain way, or a fan base is interpreting something a certain way, I'm happy to come back on the show and offer that point of clarification. Now, I might not agree with it, or I might think that it's misguided, but I still will go out of my way to make sure that I at least put out, this is what it was clarified to me. Now, I did have a chance to read Anthony Sanfilippo's column on Thursday about Aleksei Kolosov, and in that story over on onpattison.com, he alluded to there being some factors over in the KHL previously that may have kind of given Kolosov the idea that the AHL is an inferior league and that he shouldn't accept going there, and that perhaps in his home country of Belarus, they might also view the AHL as a step down. I go back to something that Danny Briere said on an earlier episode, like at the beginning of the regular season. We had him and Jonesy and Hilferty on Snow the goalie. We were sitting at a big table. And we never drilled down on it, and I almost regret not drilling down on it in the moment. But Briere said something about, because we asked about the Kolosov situation at that point, and at that point he had reported to the team. It was very late in the offseason, or in the preseason. And he said there were some pressures from back at home that we didn't know about. We never drilled down on it. And I kind of take that, and I take what Ant wrote yesterday, and it makes me think perhaps the hesitance of Kolosov to go down to the AHL, or maybe even for the team to send him to the AHL, is because there are these other pressures. Now, are they fair? And should an organization have to like take those into account when deciding whether or not a player goes up or a player goes down? I don't know. To me, they would probably know best what those pressures are. I don't, but they might. And if there is something that for some reason is like an extenuating circumstance, then fine. Now, do I think that that should probably be addressed publicly? Maybe. If it's something that they can't address publicly, that'd be bad, very bad, but okay. I'm going to try to extend a little bit of grace, due in part to the fact that Kolosov has now been sent down. Since Wednesday's show, since me ranting and raving like a lunatic, Kolosov was sent down. Now, you can call me the catalyst of the rebuild, and if Risto gets traded and Lawton gets traded and Flyers don't make any acquisitions of over 30-year-old centers, by all means, I will be the catalyst of the rebuild. Not really, but maybe. Anyway, Point of clarification, because that's what we do on the show. Now, I do want to get to what's happening this weekend with the Eagles, and there are a whole bunch of things that we have to get to about the Eagles this weekend, because as I've said to you a bunch of times, I feel very, very confident about this game. I'd love to know from all of you over on YouTube and X and Facebook, how are you feeling about the game? Are you feeling confident? Are you on the fence? Are you nervous? You can go ahead and let me know. By the way, if you're on X and you're trying to participate with the show, remember you have to click the video first and then you type your comment in the old Periscope view. That's how I can pull your comment up. Otherwise, I can't. Okay. Now, there are a bunch of things that are going on. And I think the number one concern that anyone has is the health of Jalen Hurts. Because if we're being honest here, if Jalen Hurts isn't healthy, the team is in deep doo-doo. Legitimately, it would not be good. Now, some people might somehow sell themselves on, well,
Get Kenny Pickett in there. And Kenny Pickett's a good backup quarterback, and maybe he can read the defense better. Maybe he makes quick decisions better. Kenny Pickett's not going to hold on to the ball for 5 seconds to get sacked.
those people need to very, very quickly pull their head out of their keisters.
Oh, Tanner McKee looked good.
I mean, he did look good.
Tanner McKee, he looks really good. Tanner McKee can run this offense.
Stop. The whole thing comes down to whether or not Jalen Hurts is healthy and if he can execute the offense. And I'll actually go over here really quick to Christian, who says, more worried about Cam Jurgens, who missed practice again. There are questions now about whether Landon Dickerson is going to move over and start at center. Not having your center would be catastrophic, especially with a hurt quarterback. That would not be good in the least bit. D-Chai11 says the same thing. Some concerns with Jurgens and Goddard injuries, but I think they should take care of the Commanders. The Goddard thing isn't as nervy for me because Calcaterra's looked good this year when he's filled in. And it's not like Goddard has been healthy all season. Calcaterra's gotten no reps. To this point, it has worked out okay. Now, if you're thinking in protection or something, sure, especially with a potentially hurt quarterback, it would be far from ideal. Landro says he's confident. Andrew Fawcett says Kenny Pickett is not Nick Foles. So we got that. Okay. Jim Cochran, very nervous about the game. Washington's the hottest team in the playoffs. Add in that I'm a Philadelphia fan, and of course I'm going to be a glass half empty guy. It's okay. It's okay. Connor Allen said, we made it all year without the Jurgens injury. Now have it now. That's annoying. I agree. Ford says, Jaden is a stud. I don't want to rely on our defense needing to do everything to win the game. The offense needs to not leave points on the board. That Rams game should have been 35 or so points. Okay. Chris Freed thinks it all comes down to Hurts' knee. Well, that's actually a very good segue, my friend, because I want to get to Sal Pal's report from practice. Now, he offered this up on Thursday. Sal Pal was out of practice. I'm going to show you a little bit of video from John Clark as well of what Hurts looked like, at least when the media was able to check out practice. Now, is it highly concerning? Not necessarily. If you remember, prior to the start of the playoffs, Jalen Hurts wasn't a full participant in practice, right? He was wearing the red jersey. He was also going through the end of concussion protocol. It wasn't cleared until late that week. But I do want to get out to Sal Pal because Sal Pal had some interesting notes about Jalen Hurts and his health. So let's go over to Sal Pal. Sal Pal, hey, how you doing there, fella? You got a paper?
Headline, Hurts, I'll be ready to go. That's what he said yesterday. Now, here's what I saw today at practice, just a little while.
This is based on
Just still
Thursday.
on the practice field, Laura, but I just came from the practice field. Check it out. Here's the video of him warming up. What I see is a quarterback trying to get ready
you have
to go.
Hurts
He's
kind of
stretching the knee.
Hurts doing his thing.
knee.
All right, we love
He's
this.
definitely
We love working the upper body. A little bit of row. We love the row. We love the row, folks, don't we? We love the row. George Washington, he was a great president, but not a very good rower. He said on the foot at the front of the boat. He had his knee up high like Captain Morgan as they went across the river. A very cold river, but he wasn't rowing, was he, folks? He wasn't. But Jalen rose. He rose very well.
A little bit stiff. He's moving gingerly. He's not trying to overdo it.
All right,
He's
so
trying to put some
Sal
pressure
Pal's
on that
entire
left
point
knee,
here
shift his weight,
is that
deliver the football. We're not seeing much practice, just a little bit of warm up. But
all right, so this is not a shock, right? Sal Pal says he looks stiff. He looks like he's trying to warm up the knee. He's not doing a whole lot. He's not pushing it in practice. Now, listen, we can be concerned. If you are deeply concerned by Sal Pal's report and you're deeply concerned by that tiny little bit of video that we saw Fine. I'm actually going to throw over to our local guy, John Clark. John Clark took some practice or some video at practice. Very short clip. I'm also going to turn it down because it sounds like it was in an airplane hangar. I have no idea why, but we're going to go over to that as well. If you want to see what Jalen Hurts' mobility looks like a few days out, 3 days out, this was yesterday, 3 days out from the NFC Championship game, here was Jalen Hurts at practice on Thursday. Let's see. How we feeling? We got the snap. A little bit of motion there. Okay. All right. Kind of looks like me when I'm getting started on the treadmill at Planet Fitness, but okay. All right. I mean, not exactly ideal, but I don't expect him to bust it. And all right, maybe I'm a little bit concerned. Maybe a little bit, un poco. Maybe just a little bit concerned about the potential lack of mobility. I mean, it would be bad. It would be catastrophic for this Eagles team. So we have to hope among all hopes, that it's not going to come back to bite them. Now, one of the things that people are the most worked up about and have been the most worked up about around Jalen Hurts is that Washington's defensive coordinator, Joe Witt Jr., he had a very questionable answer. He was asked about the Hurts injury and about how they're going to play defensively against Jalen Hurts. I want you to hear what the defensive coordinator of the Commanders had to say about how they're going to approach tackling Jalen Hurts in this game. And then I want you to remember that his quarterback also runs, and this game is in Philadelphia, and this might not have been a smart thing to say. All right, let's go out to Joe Witt Jr.
We've had a number of these guys that we've had to prepare for, and so the one thing is if he's going to run the ball, and if the coordinator makes a decision for him to run the ball, we're going to treat him like a running back, and we're going to hit him that way. You know, so that's their decision if they want to get him hit the way that he gets hit. If they don't, they'll keep him in the pocket. So, but that's what we're going to do.
Boy, that's kind of ballsy. That's a pretty ballsy proclamation. Now, on one hand, I respect it, and it is being honest and forthright that that's what he thinks is like. If you're going to give up your body and you're going to give up what is essentially your protection as a passer, and you're going to run, we're going to tackle you like a running back or like any other player, implying that they're not going to hold up. They're also not going to hold up on the fact that the guy might have a hurt knee. They're going to tackle him like they tackle anybody else. I get it. And fundamentally, I understand the thought process behind it. I don't think I would have said that. I don't think that was the smartest thing to say because Jaden Daniels also is a mobile quarterback who could pick up yards with his legs. And like this defense has been so opportunistic and has been so deadly, I don't know if you needed to then give this defense additional incentive to go out and just pound Jaden Daniels. I think this actually opens them up for locker room fodder, for bulletin board fodder. This to me wasn't a very smart thing to say if you're Joe Witt Jr. I think I would have just refrained. I don't think this was a smart call at all on his part. Because if he's effectively saying right off the bat, I mean, this isn't going to change the Eagles' game plan. Like, the Eagles weren't going to go into this game saying,
well, we have an NFC East pact. Okay, we have an NFC East pact. And if we can't win, as long as the NFC East is represented healthy in the Super Bowl, they have a chance to take down the Chiefs or the Bills. The Bills aren't going to win. The Chiefs or the Bills aren't going to win.
That doesn't exist. Like, that's not happening. So, no. The idea that, this is going to change the Eagles' game plan, hysterical, essentially putting an extra large blinking target on your own quarterback, to me is kind of nonsensical. Now, do I know for a fact that this is going to change how the Eagles' defense was going to play Jaden Daniels? No. Do I think that there's a chance now that they're maybe look to blow the young guy up a little bit more? It's possible. It's possible. I'm going to go out to the comments here really quick, and then I have a few media pundits that I want you to hear from real quick before, we finally get to what I think is going to happen in this game. Let's see. JH says it feels like a trap game. Ford says you can expect the D to hold the Commies to 17 points. Commies can get to 24, so for me, it need the Eagles offense to get us 28 or so. I think it's going to be higher scoring than that. I really do. Unless are we getting snow? I don't think we're getting snow on Sunday. I think the Eagles are going to score more than 28. I don't want to spoil my final prediction here. But Flyer Spin Doctor says 34-20 Birds. Interesting. Very interesting. Jamie responds to Andrew Fawcett earlier saying it was 2 degrees, not a good idea to go 100% on a healing knee. Some logic to that. Len DeJoseph says Eagles will win this game unless it comes down to a chip shot field goal. Oh, come on. Don't kill poor Jake Elliott. All right. Couple missed extra points, not great. He hit all of his field goals last week. The ones that count for 3, he hit. The ones that count for 1, he wasn't experienced on. But that's okay. Connor Allen says less quarterback runs, less opportunity for Frank Louvu to headhunt. Hurts might be a good thing. I ran out of gas on that one. Okay. Connor Allen asks, does Joe Witt Jr. know Jalen Carter is going up against a backup guard and can get after a 150-pound quarterback? If you didn't know before, he will know on Sunday. I said as soon as Cosme went out, as soon as he made the announcement, like torn ACL, out for the playoffs, pretty long recovery process ahead of him, that had to be the thing that had you like licking your chops. Right guard goes out. Jalen Carter's going to line up. He should feast in this game. Even if Jalen Carter doesn't get multiple sacks, he should be able to collapse that pocket almost single-handedly and make Jaden Daniels' life a living hell. And then you add on to that the home field advantage of playing in Lincoln Financial Field. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I will tell you that. But we'll get there in a little bit. Jamie also says the Commanders' defensive coordinator is an idiot. Of course, you're going to hit him like a running back, like any quarterback, except for Mahomes. Because remember, you can't touch Mahomes. We talked about this on Monday. But when you say it like that, you're giving bulletin board material. I agree. Let's see. Ford says the Eagles' pass coverage is going to be tested, which for me, they'll show up. It's about can they do it all game. We need the offense to give the Eagles' defense a rest. That I think is the best point Ford has made today. And it is a very astute point. You need to make sure that you're giving the Eagles' defense a break. The second game of the season against Washington, the one where Jalen Hurts went out, a big reason why I think the defense collapsed late in that game is because they got thrown back onto the field again and again. This happened early in the season against Tampa Bay, albeit a very hot game. Eagles were missing some key players, but the defense ended up out on that field again and again and again, didn't have the opportunity to rest, and it fell apart. If the same thing that happened against the Rams happens against the Commanders this week, and the Eagles defense is on the field for far too long in the fourth quarter, I do actually fear Jaden Daniels' multifaceted approach to the game a lot more than I feared Matthew Stafford as a pure pocket passer. And I'm not exactly sure that it would go as well for the Eagles if they're in that same situation late in this game in the NFC Championship. So I do agree. I think a lot of this comes down to the Eagles getting off to a strong start, and I think it ultimately gets to the Eagles being able to eat up clock in the second half, give their defense a rest so they can go out and make those big plays, make those game-changing plays, force those takeaways, and ultimately punch the ticket to the Super Bowl. Andrew Fawcett says for the secondary, they can't play too aggressive, keep the coverage simple. I assume they will. You can't have moments like Slay going up for the ball, right? Going up for the one-handed breakup, and then the ball goes over his head and it becomes a big catch. You can't have that happen on Sunday. You can't let Scary Terry get behind Slay, where Slay's trying to make a play on the ball instead of just ensuring that the pass doesn't land in the hands of the opposition. Chris Freed asks, does Jake Elliott make it out of the link alive if he misses the game-winning field goal? Well, it wouldn't be good in the moment, and I'm sure people would be ready to rip him and have him cut. I think that Jake Elliott's one of those guys that I look back at the body of work and I say he deserves the benefit of the doubt. He's had struggles this year. Kickers go through this in their careers. It's just that Elliott hasn't to this point. Christian says, I would say Detroit really shot themselves by not giving the ball to Gibbs last week and for some reason tried to get Montgomery going. I'm confident Saquon and Gainwell can run through the Commanders. I agree. Look, so much of the Eagles' success really does come back to whether or not Saquon gets going. And in most games, he does get going. I think there's a very good chance here that Saquon has another big game. Gainwell has been a fantastic guy to come in and give him some rest and spells. Listen, I think the Eagles can win this game convincingly. Is there a scenario where this could go sideways and it could end up being a much closer game? Yes. Do I see a scenario where the Eagles get blown out at home? I don't. I really don't. I know what Washington did to Detroit, but that NFC North division proved to be a lot of fool's gold between the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions all being one and dones in the playoffs. Flyer Spin Doctor says our safeties have 33% of Daniels' interceptions this year. Fangio, third chance, we're good. Yeah, I mean, that's the one good thing. That's where you come back to your new coordinators, especially your veteran defensive coordinator. You do expect adjustments to be made. And now, one of the things that Fangio has been so good at this year is making those adjustments within the game. But you give him the third opportunity, and you give him film on Jayden Daniels, an entire regular season plus 2 games in the playoffs, stands to reason that Fangio is going to figure something out, disguise blitzes, make Daniels' life a living hell. Now, is Jayden Daniels good enough to counteract that and to maybe see some of these disguised blitzes coming? It is possible. The kid is really good. He doesn't look like a rookie. But we'll find out. I don't think he's going to implode. If Washington loses, I don't think it's going to be because Jayden Daniels throws 3 interceptions and they put up like 7 points on the day. Like, I don't think that'll happen. I'd be really shocked if it did. Jack M.O.A. Spratt says, Commanders team has remained humble the whole season. I don't think Joe Witt's statement was locker room fodder. Commanders been underdogs all season. We'll just have to see what happens. It's a fair point. I don't think that Washington has gone out of their way to be like over the top about their success. And I think a lot of that is because they have a rookie quarterback. And for better or I said this not that long ago, right? And I said this when the Commanders were laying it to the Lions. On a human level, and as somebody who just enjoys football and can look at things from a neutral perspective sometimes, the Jayden Daniels story is one of the best ones to happen in the league in a long time. And the fact that this young quarterback who doesn't fit the prototypical model of what a pocket pass, like all this bullshit, right? Notice the fact. Got to be careful. I'm not one to play the race card here. I'm really not. I'm genuinely not. But there has almost been like that coded language around Jalen Hurts all season. And in fact, like for much of his career, that like he's not smart enough or quick enough to read the defense. And a lot of times it harkens back to like the Rush Limbaugh kind of line of attack on Donovan McNabb and black quarterbacks. You don't hear the pundits say that about Jayden Daniels. Now, is it because Jayden Daniels has flashed a better and maybe more accurate arm than Hurts this year? Possibly. I find it weird, though. Now, if Jayden Daniels comes back down to earth, is the discourse around him going to change? And going into next year, will it be different? I don't know. I just find that weird. I find it weird that Jayden Daniels seems to be like the only guy that they don't go after in the same way. Hurts really, oftentimes, the critiques are very, very much like what we used to hear 15, 20 years ago around the young black quarterbacks in the league and about like what Donovan McNabb was and what Mike Vick was. I don't know. Doesn't sit well with me. I don't know what it is. All right, we're going to keep going. Let's see. I see a bunch of people going back and forth. And Jamie Rollo going after Ford about the jersey. Oh, geez. Okay. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Ford says, this is me giving back to the community. Andrew Foster says, the community like you're a known criminal trying to justify your crimes. Michael Sorkin says, apparently there's a stat every time Jake Elliott misses an extra point, the Eagles win. Well, then, screw it. Start of the game, miss the extra point. There's also the thing about Jalen Hurts. Like, if he throws, in his playoff career, if he throws for under 155 yards, the Eagles are undefeated. But if he throws for more than 155 yards, the Eagles haven't won a game. That includes the sensational performance against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl a few years ago. I don't know. All right, I'm going to just kind of skip here a little bit. Flyer Spin Doctor says, Hurts has one outlier year of exceptional football. The rest of the game, he's either a game manager or a turnover machine. Passing game gets bogged down because he only throws outside the numbers. We'll find out. Like, we'll see what this week. Listen, at some point, I think Hurts is going to let it go. I think he's going to let the ball, like he's going to let it loose. And when he does, hopefully, right, if you're an Eagles fan, you want the Eagles to win. Hopefully, he harkens back to that Jalen Hurts who was the MVP runner-up and was a guy who like very much either matched or outplayed Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl a few years ago. Like that would be the ultimate best case scenario if you are truly an Eagles fan. Okay. Connor Allen says, Russ, we have to fight in the comments here since Kincaid. Did Kincaid really end Crossing Broadcast? I mean, I walked away from doing the show on Mondays, due in part to the fact that, like, I do this show 3 times a week now. Did he kill the Thursday show too? That's not good. I can't go back and save it again. I don't have it in me. I really don't. Okay. Oh, okay. Ford says he didn't end it. Okay, well, so now we have Ford and Connor are going to have to argue in the thing. Peter asks, am I going to smoke wings before the game on Sunday? You're damn right I will. I'm going to keep smoking wings from now until the end of time. My smoked wings are incredible. Incredible. Next level. Anyway, I want to get to a couple of other things here before we head out. I know, we're 40-something minutes into the show. I know it's flown. Some of the best things in life, they just feel like they go too fast. And this show happens to be one of them. I want to get to the pundits, and then I want to end on the Jordan Mailata quote, because I think it is the thing that gives the most hope, and it's the thing that makes you feel probably the best about the Eagles' chance of going home with a victory this week, perhaps even winning the Super Bowl. Stephen A. Smith had a big thing about Jalen Hurts and about narratives around quarterback. And the question on First Take was something around which QB can change their own narrative on Sunday. Which quarterback could change the narrative around themselves the most on Sunday? And Stephen A. Smith picked Jalen Hurts. I believe Cam Newton picked Jaden Daniels, and I think Orlovsky picked Josh Allen. We only really care about the comment about Jalen Hurts. I want to go out to Stephen A. Smith for a second because he raises a very good point about Hurts and about how he legitimately does have the opportunity here to change this narrative around him not being a good passer or being a guy who is just a game manager. Let's go out to Stephen.
If Jalen Hurts goes out there and performs at an elite level, the Philadelphia Eagles could win another Super Bowl championship. And that's what you're looking at right there. And once that happens, then the narrative, he overcomes that. He's got to a Super Bowl, and then he goes out and he wins a Super Bowl this year. Then all of a sudden, we're looking at Jalen Hurts in an entirely different light. And
that is 100% true.
We're big up in him in a very big way.
So I don't care about the rest of the discourse. I don't care about because Cam Newton then kind of derails the segment, which he tends to do from time to time. But I think Stephen A. Smith is right. If Hurts goes out and makes it back to a Super Bowl and perform, play out the multiple scenarios, right? If Hurts is injured, doesn't look good this weekend, do you really hang the loss on Hurts if he's actually injured and can't move? Well, you probably put a lot of the blame on him, but then you might also put blame on Sirianni for rolling him out there if you have 2 other quarterbacks on your roster that are healthy. If he leads you to a win and you get to the Super Bowl and he gives you a similar performance like he did a few years ago against Mahomes and the Chiefs, and they somehow lose that game, but he's given you 2 exceptional Super Bowl performances, I don't think it changes the narrative a ton, but it does say he once again performs in the biggest games. So there's that. If they were to win this week, get to the Super Bowl, and he pukes in the huddle like Donovan McNabb, it won't hurt. It won't help his perception. Now, if Hurts goes out and leads you to a Super Bowl, and it doesn't look the best, right? He throws for 150 yards, but Saquon Barkley rushes for 175, and you win a Super Bowl, are people going to look at Jalen Hurts as, one of the best quarterbacks in the league? Probably not, but they would have to call him a Super Bowl winner and also note the fact that he would be the first Eagles quarterback in the franchise history to go to multiple Super Bowls. There's something to that. So I do agree with him. I think that there's a potential narrative change that Hurts can go out and enact just by playing well and getting this team wins. Now, Flyer Spin Doctor says with the game manager version, not asking him to do too much, protect the ball, Eagles are unbeatable. I think, yeah, I don't like the narrative that he's just a game manager, because I've said this a bunch of times. It implies that he is akin to Trent Dilfer, which, no offense to Trent Dilfer, but Dilfer and Hurts aren't even remotely the same player. They're not even remotely the same quarterback. They didn't have remotely the same ceiling. To me, it's nonsensical. The only reason that you make a comparison like that is because you are really stuck on the semantics of game manager. Hurts goes out and does exactly what is needed of him to win. This guy could fundamentally screw the entire season up if he were to go out and play Carson Wentz hero ball. If Jalen Hurts were really that committed to only going after his own personal stats and pulled a Wentz, you wouldn't even be in this position right now. You probably would have gotten bounced against the Packers. But instead, he understands the guy who's lining up beside him, sometimes on the wrong side if you believe that clip prior to the fourth quarter touchdown by Barkley. He knows that guy is really what makes the offense go in a big way. And he knows that he can trust his wideouts and his tight end. And he can trust that the line is going to give them enough time to make a smart decision before the ball is even snapped and then once it is. I don't call that a game manager. I say that's a really smart player, and that's a guy who is being selfless instead of what Wentz was often accused of, which was being selfish. Okay. Jamie, our resident Ravens fan, says, it's okay, Russ. Plenty of offense to Dilfer. All right, well, then fine. Okay. There was that, and then there was I remember this. I want to piss you off a little bit before I build you guys back up with a little bit of positivity. Okay? I missed this the other day. I don't know how I missed this the other day. I'm actually, if I'm being honest with you, I'm a little bit embarrassed. I am. I'm embarrassed that I didn't have this on Wednesday. But, you guys might remember, way back when I first started in doing anything around Philly media, I originally was one of the 3 co-hosts of the original Crossing broadcast with Kyle Scott and our dear friend Adam Lefko, who has gone on to have very big and great opportunities. Hosts a podcast with Shaq, does NBA on TNT. Great guy. Salt of the earth guy. He hosted for a long time a show with one of the most miserable human beings. I'm trying to be really nice here, and I am definitely not commenting on the fact that this dude's haircut and the fully buttoned to the top shirt definitely makes him look like, somebody who would have been expelling groups from their country in like the 1930s. We're not gonna say that because we wouldn't say it's just not a nice thing to say. But Chris Sims is maybe the most miserable, smug human being covering football, and there are many of pundits who are kind of miserable that are covering football. But I have to give Kay Adams credit because she finally asks the question, what is your deal with the Eagles?
Have the best team, but you think that they'll be in a position right now this week going up against the Commanders where he will mess up. Why?
Oh, well, not mess up. I don't think that. I just think they got to play better. And listen, some of their struggles in their pass game, I don't put them all on him.
Him is referring to Jalen Hurts. If we remember, Sims has done these quarterback rankings a bunch of times, right? And a big part of the QB rankings that people had a problem with a few years ago was that, like, Hurts was really low on that list coming off of a Super Bowl appearance. And it almost felt performative to have him as low as he did. So people were like, all right, well, Sims just doesn't like Hurts. Like, there's something about, I don't know. What was it? Anyway, we're going to go back to him. We're going to try to give the guy the benefit of the doubt as we try to not puke on ourselves listening to him.
They're a little too simple with what they do in their pass game schematically. That's one of their big issues altogether. And as you saw yesterday with some of these long touchdown runs, they can run the ball on anybody. It doesn't matter how many people you put in the box. It's one of the greatest offensive lines in the history of football.
That is also fair. That is also accurate. Eagles have a sensational running game. That is why they were within 100-ish yards of setting the all-time single-season rushing record with Saquon Barkley. But he doesn't leave it at the positive. He has one of the dumbest bits of analysis you will have ever heard if you haven't heard it already.
What we see in Philadelphia. And they can win a lot of games the way they're winning right now and the way he's playing. I'm just saying if they want to maybe win this weekend or have to play the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the passing game, the offense we saw, and again, not all Jalen Hurts, but what we saw yesterday, that will not get it done. They will not. He's
not necessarily wrong, by the way. If they are going to take the next step, and if they do get to a Super Bowl and they play the Bills, or the Chiefs, you are going to have to put up enough points. You are going to probably have to put up 28, 30 points to remain competitive in that game, because it won't be an indictment of your defense. It's just that either Josh Allen, or Patrick Mahomes are going to get a lot of calls, and they are going to make explosive plays. And try as you might, they're going to beat you at least a few times. We're getting very close to the stupidity, though.
Win the Super Bowl if that's the passing game we see, or even this week against the Commanders, right? I mean, that game yesterday, let's say it was 130 plays. The Rams definitely won the majority of those plays.
130 plays. The Rams won the majority of those plays.
If it's not for 2 strips by the Eagles defense.
If it's not for 2 critical takeaways.
And basically the 3 long touchdown runs.
And the 3 touchdown runs. 1 by Hurts, 2 by Barkley.
I would say you take away those 5-6 plays there, the Rams football team won the majority of the plays on the field in the game that day. That shouldn't be. The Eagles didn't play their best ball, and they got to find ways to throw the ball a little bit better, because they got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, who I would argue is the best duo receiver in football, too.
This man gets paid to analyze football. This guy has a national platform. Was he a Nepo hire because his dad worked at CBS, was a much more successful quarterback than he was? Maybe. I'm just trying to rationalize. I'm just trying to understand this. And it happened days ago. I'm just trying to understand. He says the Eagles ran 130 plays against the Rams, but the Rams won most of those plays if you take away 2 critical takeaways by the defense and 3 big touchdown runs by Hurts, Saquon, and Saquon. Well, if you take away those 3 touchdowns and those 2 big, takeaways, the Rams won most of those plays. This is almost as stupid, arguably even more stupid, than when Micah Parsons said after the Eagles blew out the Cowboys, well, if you take the scoreboard away, take away some of those big plays, we actually, played them pretty close. What? I'm sorry. Sims makes how much money? Let's be conservative. Sims makes at least $200,000. At least. Likely more. Let's say he makes $200,000 to analyze football across a few platforms. $200K for that kind of analysis. Oh boy. I know that people say that ESPN has devolved into this hot take, almost clickbaity sort of thing. I get it. We sometimes take FS1 to task on this show for almost performative takes. Chris Sims saying that the Eagles lost most of the plays against the Rams, unless you take away those takeaways and the long touchdowns. That is lunacy. Absolutely psychotic. Holy shite. What are we doing? Jamie says, stumbling and trying to form a thought from idiocy, Russ, is my favorite Russ. Thank you, Jamie. I'm trying to make sure. I'm trying to be a little bit more calm. Wednesday was a show that I got very worked up. I was trying to keep my blood pressure low, and I knew I was going to play this clip. This man is out of his mind. Oh, I'll tell you what, Chris Sims, I want you to take a look at this dad bod, okay? Just take a look at the dad bod. If you took away the 2 Whoppers and the French fries I had last night, and the Coke, the Coca-Cola, let's not go creating rumors. If you took away the 2 Whoppers and the French fries that I ate last night, I probably would have hit my calorie target for the day. If you took away the 22 days this month I didn't go to the gym and only evaluated the 2 that I did, I've been working out like an absolute monster in the month of January. That's not how the real world works. That's also not how football works. What are we doing? What are you talking about? Holy smokes. Okay. We're done. I'm done with that. Now, I do have a little bit of goodness. Now, I actually did have another Chris Sims clip, but I'm not playing it because Kay Adams asked, what's your problem with Jalen Hurts? And he gave a lot of the same sort of answer, passing game, all that shit. Okay? JH, this is great. Well, Chris Freed says, Coke and wings, oh my. And then JH goes, no rumors, Russ. If you were hitting the ski slopes. probably wouldn't have had as much of a dad bod. That is likely true. I never went skiing. I've actually never gone like regular skiing or the skiing that JH is implying there. Stuff's scary. Absolutely not. No chance. Now, I do want to get to one last thing. And this is going to be the last. Oh, Peter asks, Whoppers with cheese, yes. And it wasn't Whopper Wednesday. Usually, I like to go to Burger King. I say this is the last time I'm going to go get Whopper Wednesday for a while, as I like try to get back to losing a few pounds here. I'd like to lose a little bit. I don't know, lose a lot, but just enough. And then for whatever reason last night, I was like, you know what? It's a Thursday. I didn't do Whopper Wednesday. I'm just going to go hit up the BK. Now, Ford, who lives in Phoenixville, might be able to kind of attest to this. The Phoenixville Burger King is very hit or miss. I have never in my life had as much of a hit or miss Burger King as that one. They do this thing sometimes where they're like, pull up to the first window and wait until we flag you up. And I'm like, what are you doing to my burgers between me having to sit? Why do I have to sit at the first window? There's nobody there. Why can't I just pull up to the second window and hand you my credit card and then have you do the checkout? Why do I need to wait at the first window? It certainly makes me feel like you're like, are you like throwing something in the microwave? Are you like blowing your nose in the burger? I mean, in fairness, they are nice salty burgers, but I don't want your boogers in my burgers. Why do I have to wait at the first window? What are we doing? Burger King, what are you doing? Anyway, sometimes I drive to the Pottstown one just to be safe. It's a nicer Burger King. Though I will say the fine folks on Thursday, wonderful Whoppers. I hope they didn't blow their nose in my burgers, but if they did, I'll tell you what, they were still very good. That's actually very disgusting to think. Chris Freed says, 20,000 steps a day, you can do it. I work from home. Oh no, that's not happening. Now, if I do get to the gym and I do a few miles, then I feel good. I'm also home with a sick kid on day 2 of the flu. It has not been fun. There is no chance I get to the gym unless I go tonight. Anyway, JH says, all Burger Kings are hit or miss. I'll tell you which one isn't hit or miss. The one in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, baby. Now, I don't know. It's been 15 years since I've been there. But where I grew up, that Burger King was always consistent and it always made me happy. Then I moved down this way, and I find that fast food can be hit or miss. It's not in Schuylkill County. They treat those burgers like it's a Michelin-starred dish. Everything is hot. Flame-broiled goodness. The fryers are always hot and ready to go. At least that one's good. So, let's see. Ford says, haven't been there in probably 10 years. Across from Marky's. Yes, that one. That's the one. Anyone? God, there's so many bad things here. Jim Cochran says, so many good restaurants in Phoenixville and you're frequenting Burger King. Come on, Russ. I know there are really good restaurants there. But like when it's a late night run and I'm about to sit down and watch a show with my wife, I'm not gallivanting into town and like going to Vecchia and getting a nice, wood-fired pizza. I'm not going to Sedona to go get like rockfish, right? I'm not doing that. I could name a bunch of other places. Sokobag's great. Like Sokobag a lot. The Korean fried chicken. Fantastic. Should talk to them. Maybe we should do a live show there. That'd be fun. Anyway. Chris Freed also now holding me accountable, saying I do 21,000 a day while working from home. Good God. By God, man. Okay. Also, Jamie says, Sedona, good choice. Never had a bad meal there. That Iron Hill across the street from Sedona went out of business. I'm not surprised. We went there as a family in the summer. Not good. Iron Hill in Westchester, sensational. Iron Hill in Media, perfectly fine when I went there. The one in Phoenixville, like over the summer, not good. Went out of business. Was not surprised. All right, I'm done. I'm not tearing down businesses. We're not trashing business. Now, I want to get to the last thing. I had a positive thing that I wanted to get to. You people keep, taking me. So, Tie Me Up is a good place. I think that's the one on the corner. They used to be Thai Elephant. Wonderful. There's a Thai place in Royersford up by the Chick-fil-A. I'll think of the name. And if I don't, you can look it up. But it's by the Chick-fil-A. Place is fantastic. Great Thai food. Although I did find a recipe for drunken noodles, and you bet your ass I made it for the family, and you bet they loved it. Russ, good guy in the kitchen. Nice guy. Good cook, this guy. My wife, sensational. This guy, though, good guy. Good cook. All right. Last thing before we head out. This is what made me realize that the Eagles are just built different. And this is what made me realize, oh yeah, the Eagles are winning Sunday. And they're going to go to the Super Bowl. And I think, by God, they just might win the Super Bowl. Jordan Mailata was asked about Jayden Daniels, the hype around Jayden Daniels, and why it seems like Jalen Hurts doesn't get that same kind of love and affection from national media pundits, from people who assess the game, even from the fan base. And I want you to hear what Jordan Mailata had to say about the perception difference between Jayden Daniels and Jalen Hurts, because this is perfection. And we all know I'm a big Jordan Mailata fan, always have been. Jordan, what do you think? Jayden Daniels, Jalen Hurts.
Jayden's kind of become the hot thing of this season, and with good reason. But does it ever, I know it doesn't bother him much, but does it ever bother you that, people don't really consider Jalen that caliber of quarterback despite his record?
I just want to apologize for this. I couldn't give a fuck. I just want to apologize. I'm sorry. I couldn't give a fuck, a rat's ass about whatever anybody says outside this building. It ain't going to help us win championships, and that's our goal.
By God, he killed him. As God is my witness, he is broken in half. Jordan Mailata, what a guy. What a dude. You want to talk about like what makes a leader of men? What makes you a team captain? It's that kind of answer. Also notice he doesn't say to win a championship. He says win championships because he's got the eye on the prize. He says Kansas City has a dynasty. Why can't we? I love that answer. Love it. If you remember when there was all of the stuff going on about Hurts and A.J. Brown a few weeks ago, he said, I like all of you guys. He talks to me and he says, I like all you guys. But this is not the Jalen and A.J. show. This is a football team. I don't care about that stuff. This is the kind of guy that you need in the locker room to keep everyone's head on straight. And it probably doesn't hurt that he is an absolute mountain of a man, a very large Australian man who could break each and every one of you. I love that answer. That tells me that there is clarity and that this team is going to be focused and locked in on the task at hand. So I will give you my prediction. Eagles win 34-26. I think the Eagles will have a successful time early in this game of getting the running game set up. I would not be surprised if the Eagles go 3-and-out to start the game, because it's just, there's something poetic about the Eagles having a rough start, getting booed, and then the national media saying, oh, they're already booing here in Philadelphia. But I would guess that by the second quarter, the Eagles might end the first half with like 10 points, but this is a second half team. This is a team that wears you down on both sides of the ball. I would expect that Jalen Carter is going to have a multi-sack game, and I fully expect that Jayden Daniels will have at least one or two explosive plays, that Terry McLaurin is going to have at least one touchdown, probably one over the top. I don't know if it'll be Quignon. It might be Slay. Doesn't really matter. He will bust the top off the defense at least one time and probably have a long touchdown. And there might be a moment in this game where it's very, very nervy and where the Commanders take a lead, maybe even in the second half. But I think that ultimately talent will win out. And I do think that the loss at right guard of Cosme for the Commanders is going to prove to be the difference. And I expect Jalen Carter to have a massive game. I think Saquon's going to have a big game, as per usual. And I think that you're going to see a more concerted effort to have Jalen Hurts air the ball out a bit. It might be through necessity. If they fall behind in the second half and they start throwing some darts to A.J. Brown, to Devontae Smith, fine. But I think that the Eagles ultimately win 34-26. And I also think that we're going to have a lot of the worry about Jake Elliott put to bed this week. I think he's going to be just fine. I really do. So that's where I'm at. All right. For those who aren't good at math and who also are trying to follow the Jake Elliott math of it all, that means I think the Eagles will have 4 touchdowns, 28 points, and then 2 field goals. Gets you to 34. I think that's where we're going to end up. And I think you're going to be talking about an Eagles-Chiefs rematch. And the Eagles will have the opportunity to stop the Chiefs from winning an unprecedented 3rd straight Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts will punch his ticket to the Super Bowl, becoming the first quarterback in Eagles franchise history to appear in multiple Super Bowls for the team. That is what I think will happen. Could I be wrong? Maybe. Am I? No. Everybody enjoy the game, and I'm going to answer one last question here. Jim Cochran says, I need advice. My daughter has a soccer game at 4 on Sunday. Can I skip it? How young is too young for girls to learn how to learn not to depend on men? All right, listen. How old is your daughter, Jim? If she's like high school aged, you're probably fine. I think you should still go. We live in a technology age, Jim. Figure out a way to watch the game or have an AirPod in, listen to the game. You could listen to Merrill Reese as he says a touchdown and Bradford White water heaters. Maybe that'll be you. Maybe you'll be listening to it on TV. I don't know. Take your phone. Now, if you have a little kid, if the kid's like 4, guess what? You got to pay attention because that little girl is going to be looking over for her daddy on the sideline. And if you miss a play, she's going to be very upset with you. So I guess what I'm trying to say is be a good parent, Jim. Take your phone, have it on your lap, watch it in between your daughter being on the field and off, have an AirPod in like a grown-ass adult, and pay attention to your kid's game. You know, the counterpoint to it is you could try to DVR it and then avoid all spoilers, but we all know that there are going to be other parents at the game that are going to be actively keeping up with it. So all of this is to say, pay attention to your daughter's game because there will always be more Eagles games, and this is not the Super Bowl. Be the good dad. You won't regret it. One other thing. If you have... Jim was looking for me to bail him out. I'm not bailing out, Jim. I'm sorry. Jim says, damn you, Russ. I know. Jamie Rollo says, don't skip it. When those moments are gone, they're gone forever, and it goes by so fast. Be there for her. Jim, be a good dad. Okay? Dee Dee Skinner says, got to go to her game. Jim, you asked, and the people have spoken. This is unanimous. I'm looking to see, is there anybody in the comments who said anything to the contrary? I don't think so. I think you're kind of locked into it now, Jim. By the way, if any of you have YouTube TV and you don't know this, there is a setting on YouTube TV because YouTube TV has a big delay. You can hit whatever, like hit the down button or whatever, get the bottom scroller thing. If you hit the 3 dots and then you go over to settings, you'll see delay, like tape delay or TV delay. You can toggle that from default to decreased, and it might affect your video quality, but like if you have gig speed internet like I do, it doesn't affect anything, and it removes a significant delay on your TV. I don't know if it gets you quite to like cable latency, but it's pretty damn close. So if you have YouTube TV, there's your hack. I'm sure you can look this up on TikTok, which is now back live. You can check it out on X or wherever else. But I found it last week. Made all the difference. Okay? Ford is like, you said 28 for the Eagles seemed high when I said it earlier. Same show. Then said 34. Yeah, because I adjust on the fly, Ford. I do. I adjust on the fly. I think that the Eagles are going to score 34. I thought about it. I bantered it around my head. I kind of talked myself into it. Maybe Jordan Mailata's confidence, saying he doesn't give a rate says. Maybe that's what did it for me. 38-26. We will find out on Monday where the Eagles land. Hopefully, it'll be with a ticket to the Super Bowl in New Orleans in their hand or their talons, because they're Eagles. All right. I think that's where we're going to end today's show. I want to thank everybody who joined me here, as always, for being part of the show, for having some fun together. And I want to remind you that no matter what happens on Sunday, we will be back here on Monday. I shall not shy away from doing a show if things were to go sideways, but I do think that things are going to go very, very well for this Eagles team. Jaden Daniels will probably have a very nice game, and I have no issue if he goes out and has like a decent enough game. Good on him. But I think ultimately the talent is going to prevail at the end of the day. So with all of that said, everybody have a fantastic Friday. I will talk to all of you Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. for the Russ Joy Show. I've been Russ Joy. You knew that already because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. And I guess there's one last thing to say before we head out, my friends. There's one final thing to say.
Go Eagles. Go Eagles. Go Eagles.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you Monday.